$1 trillion just vanished into thin air, and your car's suspension just paid the price. It's the ultimate paradox in modern American history. 1 trillion spent, massive promises made in Washington, but why are roads still broken? Your hard-earned tax dollars leave your paycheck, enter a bureaucratic black hole, and go up in smoke before they ever turn into actual asphalt. While politicians hit the pavement for photo ops, cutting red ribbons on useless vanity projects, you're out here blowing tires and dropping thousands at the mechanic over potholes that never seem to go away. The truth behind this infrastructure collapse is ugly, and wrapping your head around this rigged financial trap is the only way to stop getting played by the system. So if you're sick and tired of paying double for broken roads and want to know where your money is actually going, hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you the raw, unfiltered truth the mainstream media won't touch, and your subscription is crucial to help us hit our 1,000 subscriber goal and build this community of wide-awake citizens. Topic 1. The billion-dollar promise and the reality of the streets. Check out this crazy paradox. The average American citizen gets up early, pays their taxes like clockwork, and watches the news highlighting, with all the bells and whistles, that a historic trillion-dollar package was signed into law to rebuild the nation. Expectations shoot through the roof because, honestly, who doesn't want to drive on smooth, safe roads, right? But then, you get just 5 minutes into your morning commute, and it hits you that reality tells a completely different story. It's pretty much like buying a winning lottery ticket, only to find out you can't cash it in until the next century. Think of all that cash like one of those overhyped New Year's resolutions we all make. You buy the best running shoes, sign up for the priciest gym membership in town, but when it's time to actually put in the work, you're still on the couch eating donuts and watching the clock. In America, infrastructure has become that exact type of New Year's resolution that never actually happens, creating a massive disconnect between Washington's political talking points and a blown-out tire on Interstate 95. It's a great marketing stunt that looks awesome on TV, but it can't survive a week of heavy rain or a brutal Chicago winter. To really understand how this machine works, imagine you decide to remodel your entire house. You hire a crew, spend your life savings, but the contractors spend months just arguing over what color to paint the living room wall. That's the exact kind of paralysis that drains any working American who has to cross structurally deficient bridges every single day without seeing a single piece of construction equipment on the road. This massive gap between what's promised on the campaign trail and the asphalt crumbling under your wheels hides a much deeper secret, something running quietly behind the scenes of power that very few people actually see coming. Topic 2. The black hole of federal bureaucracy. When you look at why all that money is locked up, the truth is that public funds in Washington never move in a straight line. They enter a literal labyrinth of paperwork. For every single cent of that $1 trillion to leave Capitol Hill and actually reach your local avenue, it has to survive a marathon of federal, state, and local agencies that seem to speak totally different languages. It's a severe bureaucratic game of passing the buck, to the point where a simple repaving project can take longer to get cleared by environmental committees than it takes to actually build the road. In reality, American drivers get stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic while bureaucrats stamp forms in air-conditioned offices. Imagine you want to open up a small local diner, but instead of focusing on the menu and the ingredients, you spend 5 years filling out reports just to prove your kitchen won't mess up the airflow on the sidewalk. In the U.S., the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, requires assessments that easily clear 1,000 pages for a single highway project. Don't get me wrong, protecting the environment is crucial. But when the process drags on for nearly a decade, inflation kicks in and doubles the project's cost before the first excavator even starts its engine. The result is a crippled system where more time and money are spent shuffling papers than laying down asphalt. This bizarre setup burns through billion-dollar budgets before a project ever sees the light of day, leaving states and cities completely high and dry, stuck in a never-ending waiting list. That's exactly why governors and mayors often just swallow their pride, and focus on quick, temporary band-aids instead of fixing the root problem once and for all. And it's right there in that sweet spot, where real-world urgency collides with government sluggishness, that a quiet and incredibly clever political strategy is born, one that completely hijacks the priority of where your money actually goes. Topic 3. The maintenance versus expansion paradox. If you want to know exactly where the logic of the system falls apart, you just have to look at where politicians run when the news cameras start rolling. There's a little insider secret in Washington and state capitals. Grand opening a brand new highway, complete with a red ribbon to cut and a flashy speech, gets way more votes than simply patching up potholes on a road that already exists. The outcome of this political theater is a ridiculous paradox, where billions of dollars get funneled into expanding new roads the country can barely afford to keep up with, while the vital routes you use every day turn into actual off-road rally tracks. Imagine a family man whose roof is completely caving in, leaking rain right onto his kids' beds, but he decides to spend his savings on putting an Olympic-sized pool in the backyard, just to show off to the neighbors on the weekend. That's the exact vibe you get driving down the notoriously beaten-up Interstate 80, looking at ancient bridges held up by temporary support beams, while just a few miles away, the government drops a fortune on an unnecessary expansion project. The priority has shifted entirely to short-term political clout, leaving the unglamorous, heavy lifting of preventative maintenance out in the cold, as if asphalt is supposed to last forever without any TLC. This build-it-and-forget-it mentality triggers a financial snowball effect that's impossible to pay off, because fixing a completely destroyed road costs up to 4 times more than making small, constant repairs over the years. But since maintenance doesn't make for heroic front-page headlines, budgets just get kicked down the road until things become downright dangerous for anyone behind the wheel. And the kicker is, when the government finally does roll out the crews to patch up what's left of these old roads, the actual methods they choose end up being even more questionable and broken than the lack of funding itself. Topic 4. The patchwork industry and outdated engineering. If you ever stop to watch a road crew on any street in New York or Detroit, you'll notice a pattern that's almost laughable. Workers dump some hot, loose pothole patch into a crater, stomp it down a bit, and call it a day. This infamous quick fix policy is the equivalent of slapping a drugstore Band-Aid on a broken bone and expecting it to heal itself. Instead of investing in cutting-edge engineering and heavy-duty, long-lasting materials, American public works departments seem completely hooked on cheap, short-term fixes that simply can't handle heavy traffic and extreme weather shifts. To put this technological gap into perspective, countries in continental Europe use polymer-modified asphalt mixes and ultra-resilient concrete bases that keep roads in pristine condition for up to 40 years without needing major construction. Meanwhile, on this side of the Atlantic, an outdated mindset rules that asphalt needs to be as cheap as possible up front, even though everyone knows it's going to crumble during the first winter snowbank and open up brand new craters by early spring. It's an amazing business model for the contractors who sign sweet maintenance deals year after year, but a total financial disaster for the taxpayers funding the whole machine with their hard work. This obsession with old-school methods creates an endless loop of incompetence, where the exact same street gets patched 3 times a year and still drives like garbage, testing the patience of any commuter. What most people miss is that this second-rate engineering isn't just an eyesore or a headache for local traffic. This vicious cycle hides a much more ruthless, silent financial trap, one that quietly drains the budgets of American families in a way that very few people actually sit down to add up. Topic 5. The invisible cost out of your pocket. This billion-dollar bill for wrecked roads doesn't just float away into the atmosphere. It lands straight on your monthly credit card statement. According to alarming data from the American Society of Civil Engineers, the average driver in the United States shells out roughly $1,000 every single year in useless car repairs caused purely by terrible road conditions. It's a blown tire on a rough railroad crossing, a busted suspension from a deep puddle hiding a crater, and constant alignment issues that kill your gas mileage. At the end of the day, citizens get hit with a double whammy. First, You're taxed to fund asphalt you never see, and then you pay out of pocket to fix the damage caused by its absence. Think about it like one of those hidden subscription services you always forget to cancel, that just keeps bleeding your bank account dry month after month. You budget and plan to upgrade your car or take that well-deserved vacation with the family, but out of nowhere, you're forced to leave your savings at the local mechanic because of some crater on the highway that was completely impossible to swerve around. This invisible transfer of wealth sucks cash right out of local businesses, your kids' college funds or your retirement plan, sacrificing the people's financial well-being just to cover up the incompetence of public management. The absolute irony of this entire mess is realizing that our collapsing infrastructure acts like a disguised, incredibly cruel tax that hits the hardest against the folks who need their cars every single day to work and provide for their households. And when you finally add up the wasted hours sitting in gridlock, the skyrocketing stress levels, and the money thrown directly out the window, it's clear this issue goes way deeper than a few potholes. There is a hidden gear turning here, an inconvenient truth about this $1 trillion that Washington pretends not to see, but it's about to come to light in a way that will completely rewrite how you look at your own country. Conclusion: after blowing the lid off this entire system, the ultimate question left burning in your mind is pretty simple. How much longer are you going to sit back and take it while your hard-earned money gets thrown down the drain and your car takes the beating? Folding your arms and pretending this isn't your problem just gives this machine more green lights to keep profiting off our own silence. The real-world change you're looking for starts the second you decide to stop being a passive bystander and start demanding real answers about where the fruits of your labor are going. Take the knowledge you gained today and use it as both a shield and a wake-up call for your county, your city, and your state. Because remember, safe roads aren't a handout from the government, they're a right you've already paid top dollar for. And if you want to keep bulletproofing your mind with truths that nobody else has the guts to talk about, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications. We are on a serious mission to hit our 1,000 subscriber milestone, and having you in our corner is what gives us the fuel to keep delivering the deep dive content you truly deserve.